an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering One Piece, episodes 111 and 112. In these episodes, Luffy is indeed not dead, but he is actually impaled, which I will be honest, I truly thought we were going to have figured out a way for him to not be impaled. So I'm still surprised. You surprised me. All right, Oda. Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha. Thank you very much to Gabriela for commissioning this episode. Gabriela is here in the chat. Hey, girl. So, guys, I said in my post for this episode, when I put up the link to the crowdcast, that I was beginning to grow impatient. And I'm going to do that thing where I sort of start at the end a little bit, because there's something that I really want to talk about and I don't feel like waiting. And it's my show, so I can do what I want. Y'all, was anybody else like incredibly, deeply frustrated by Vivi in these episodes? I want to slap and shake her. Her intention was to stand on the sand in front of the city and just tell the rebels not to attack. That was it. That was her whole plan. That was the best that she could do. Like, she has time to try and climb the steps, center herself more so as to be more visible. She has plenty of time. And instead, she just stands there on the sand while millions of people on horseback, in quotes, because they're actually on camels. I really don't know how camels work in terms of like military offensives. I always thought that they kind of were unreliable in this sense, and I'm sure that's just for the cartoon, and that's fine. I'm not mad, but I am curious, like, how are camels for combat? There are literally millions of them mounted, heading for her. And she thinks that she's just going to be able to yell real loud to stop. And that's going to do anything. I am disgusted. I truly am. I have been frustrated with Vivi repeatedly in these episodes, but I have tried to give her the benefit of the doubt and be patient, you know, in terms of, like, to a point. This is a cartoon. She's not meant to be the epitome of a diplomatic expert, or, you know what I mean? And I get that. But then there are just things that are common fucking sense. You don't have to be a ruler to know that when people are pounding across the sand intent on war, that just standing and waving your arms is likely to get you trampled to death as much as anything else. The idea that they would even be able to see her until they're almost on top of her is ludicrous. And even as these guys sail past her, which, if there are millions of them, it would have taken them a lot longer, by the way. I guess this is just meant to be like the first offensive. Does she attempt to mount the steps? Does she do absolutely anything else? No, she does not. She literally continues yelling from the sand from behind them. I hate it. And I'm low-key about to hate her. So she better get her shit together. Because she gets like another episode to pull this out. And then I'm just going to wash my hands of her entirely. I don't have it in me. I can forgive plenty. But when it comes to just being fucking idiotic about something like this, your friends are giving themselves up to the enemy to make room for you to get here. And this is your fucking plan. Truly disgusted. What an utter waste. Everybody on that team, I'm like, the only person that I think might not have been able to do as good a job at making themselves seen is maybe like Usopp. Even Chopper would transform himself and probably be massive and weird and get attention somehow. Everybody else would do something, I think, that would make more sense and be more effective. And, I mean, don't even get me started on Nami. She is just so smart. She'd figure something out. And these dudes, like, almost see her, which is a miracle in and of itself. And that's really, like, it fell so flat. And it takes so long to get here, you guys. It's such an urgent journey. And I know that we haven't actually reached the payoff itself yet. There's still a couple episodes to go for that. But at the moment, this feels like the payoff because it's these 2 episodes that we're seeing all of the traveling happen. And it is such a complete letdown that after everything, the best idea she could come up with is to just stand there and hop and wave. And it's just, if it were even a city that were designed in any other way, I might be able to forgive this slightly because of how odd it is to try and determine which way people are coming from, which way the leader specifically is going to be coming from. Are they going to surround? Are they going to pincer attack from 2 sides? And you have to, like, which one would he be most likely to be on? Where is the best position? But because of the way this is set up in the show, there's like a city entrance. You know, there is a distinctive staircase and wall that is very huge and obvious. There could be no better setup for being noticed than being the one person standing on this giant fucking staircase when the rest of the town has fled. It's made. This town is made for big statement moments on the steps. That's what those steps are for. That's why it's built like this. And it just doesn't occur to her. I won't talk about it any further for now, but I had to address it off the top because I could not believe that even after it doesn't initially work, that she doesn't step back and go, that didn't work. I didn't think about how they wouldn't be able to see me. I'd better try something else. She just continues doing that same thing. All right, so let's get into this. Florian says this rewatch. Yeah, I saw that too. Gabriela says you're going to get all the Vivi fans to attack you. Vivi fans, I am just going to hope for your sakes that there is something else that happens to get me back on her side. Because if this is it and you're a Vivi fan, I don't know what to say to you. You know, like I just... Kyle says, camels have been used in war in real life. They have an advantage against guys on horseback because horses can't fucking stand being around camels. I have heard that. I forgot about that. Florian says she at least could have stepped on Karu's back to get more height. Yeah, like anything. Like I said, literally anything but what she did to start off with. And at the very least, when she does the thing and it doesn't work, literally an attempt to do absolutely any other thing. That's all I'm wanting. And I can't believe how... And what bums me out is that I think I am not supposed to feel this way. So this is the author, like, having her do something really stupid and wanting me to still see her as like a heroic figure. And I am not willing to do that anymore. I've been trying to like bear with him because, you know, the moment with Luffy being like, bitch, you're going to have to get used to the fact that people are going to get hurt. This is a war. This is going to happen. And you have got to come to terms with that. I was really relieved that we decided to address it. But at this point, I don't really know what else to say. I've been very patient, I feel, despite the variety of, you know. Ryan says, Vivi's heart is in the right place, but she is pretty bad at this. And Jessica says, I don't remember what my reaction was when I first saw it, but I get what you mean. I like the symbolism of the scene, so it didn't really bother me. And this is the thing, is that with a lot of especially animated stuff, it can be difficult for me to know when to just let it go because of what it's supposed to be versus what it actually is. Because, for example, the whole thing with Luffy like telling her that she needs to come to terms with the fact that some people are going to get hurt. Because they do address it, it raises my expectation and my standard. Does that make sense? So if they continued to act like Vivi was this great leader, but she continued to be this incompetent and nobody ever said anything to her about it, I would be more willing to be like, all right, I guess we're just meant to think she's good at this. I don't, and it sucks, but clearly that's the intention. It's a cartoon, fine. But because we have that like come to Jesus moment, and it felt like the show was actually sort of aware of how much she sucked, it caused me to change my interpretation of everything and be a little bit more like literal about it. And it's the sort of thing that I run into. This was a big problem on Doctor Who, actually, where Doctor Who couldn't decide whether or not it was meant to be taken seriously. And this show, because it's so extreme at certain times, it feels like when it's trying to take itself seriously, it does so in a very specific way that still works within the framework of the other ridiculousness that's happening in the show. So I feel like this is a show that can veer from emotional and genuine to utterly absurd and actually pull that off most of the time. But Doctor Who was one where those writers wanted to have their cake and eat it too. They wanted to have these like high impact moments, like social commentary, political commentary, but then they wanted to just wrap it all up in a neat bow abruptly at the end because they ran out of time or shit to say, and have him be like, oh, I found this magical watch that'll just take us back to the beginning before any of this happened and undo it all. And I just lost my fucking patience for it. It's part of why I quit the show. I just got so angry that nothing seemed to actually have any long-term consequences. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm struggling a lot with that here because both the bird guy, whose name I'm forgetting, is it like something? Him and her Cogsworth guy are both alive. And that bums me out. Like, it's not like I want people to die. It's that I want things to mean something. And if you just continually make it so that people I thought were gone and sacrificed themselves suddenly are resurrected and return, anytime anybody dies, that will have no emotional impact for me at all because I will not believe it. That's what begins to happen. And that's kind of what happened with Doctor Who. It was a similar thing where everything could be undone. So anytime there was an episode that started to get really heavy and sad, I immediately was like, but this isn't real. We're going to completely go back and undo all of this. And that was exactly what would happen. And so far, this show hasn't really done that too much, so I haven't felt like that about it. But these 2 episodes, both these like dead allies of hers come back, and she does this incredibly stupid thing. And the combination of all of these, I'm not feeling it. I don't like it. And I really hope that this isn't a habit that the show gets into where they just keep killing and resurrecting people, because I just don't have a lot of patience for it. And you guys have to know that out of the gate and be forewarned that I will complain about it every time it happens. And if you're not interested in hearing that, I'm sorry. But I can't let shit like that go. Things have to have consequences and mean something, or else what is the point of doing this? Genuinely asking. If you don't actually believe that what you're reading or watching is actually happening, and then why continue? What does it matter? It's just, like I said, not something that this show has done up to this point. They've done fake outs where somebody has seemed to be injured and they haven't actually been killed or injured the way we thought. And that I can deal with, because it's not meant to be this like, they almost immediately show you that it wasn't what it looked like, and it was just meant to be sort of a cliffhanger for that episode. And once you know that this is something they do, it's just more like the reaction that I had to Luffy getting impaled on the hook, for example, was much more about like, how does Luffy get out of this? How do they fake it? How is it that he is going to have survived? And it wasn't so much about, I believe Luffy is dead. I am coming to understand that there's no way any of our main, crew is going to get killed off in this show. If I'm wrong about that, that's great. I would prefer to be wrong. But if it's exactly how it works, I'm fine with that. I understand how that goes. But when you've got side characters like these dudes and you can't even let them go, I mean, truly, come on. It's just silly. Stop it. What? You could bring anybody back or have any new person show to help, and you just decide to reach back 10 episodes and have this thing. I don't... 10 episodes is actually... It's much longer than that, now that I think about it. Pell and Igaram. Thank you, Jessica. So, apologies to start off on a negative note here, guys. But I had been really, really enjoying this arc so far. And as much as there were little frustrations with it, I felt much more engaged overall because of the way it had been set up and the variety of settings and the travel to get there and the various things that they all went through along the way. It all made me feel like I am attached more to Vivi as a character, even though I wasn't really loving her. I enjoyed her to a point and was rooting for her. And now I'm just sort of sitting back like, I don't know how you come back from these 2 episodes and make me care again. I'm mad. I'm mad. I feel like they ruined it and I was having fun and now they're just like, yeah, but. So apologies, everybody. Sorry that I'm being hard on this, but I have tried to be as honest as possible, and I always try to do that. I don't like to mitigate the way that I'm feeling because I'm worried that people are going to get mad at me if I don't like something. I will try to have a good attitude, even if it's not something that I liked. If I'm aware, okay, but the audience is all really into this. But then there comes a point where I gotta be if something really bothers me to this point, I gotta be really blunt about it. And I don't like it. I don't like feeling like this. It's not, I have some people who occasionally will accuse me of just liking to complain about things. And that is super not it. I don't want to be irritated with the material I'm covering because this is my job and it's material that I have to live with for a while. And who wants to, I'm not looking for shit to get mad about when I'm going to be immersed in it for a while. But I can't lie about my reaction overall to a couple of these things. I will say, when Pell showed up as alive, I didn't have the same reaction because Pell was so new, and I wasn't like, I felt like, okay, we can bring him back, and I don't know what he's like capable of beyond this. And I could see, since they like had that fight and then quickly moved to a new location, I could see how he like pulls himself together and drags himself over to like the site of the most recent fight. I was even willing to be on board with that. But once Igarim turns up, that was where I sort of stopped and was like, oh, God damn it. And there it is. So I'm going to back up now that I've talked about my main issues, and we're going to start at the beginning here. We start with Toto discovering water. This is truly tragic. I felt so bad for this poor guy. He finds water, and it's like a lot. And he is so delighted and really feels vindicated in his faith that Yuba is going to pick up and move on past this now. And then he sees the sandstorm coming. And he is just like, you know what? Bring it on. I'm going to constantly fight against this because there is nothing that you can do to completely kill Yuba, which I'm simultaneously impatient with, but also admire. Like, honestly, there does come a point where it's like, okay, you should give up. But having found the amount of water that he had does feel like a miracle. And I can understand this being, if anything, something that bolsters your faith that you are right rather than otherwise. And there's sort of something about his response to the sandstorm that makes me feel like he knows somebody is behind it. And I don't think that's actually true. But the way he like yelled at it in this sort of defiant way, it felt more like he was yelling at a person than the forces of nature, you know? So this cuts over to Luffy fucking still on Crocodile's hook, by the way. And apparently Crocodile broke the container of water. So, like when he stabbed Luffy. And so I thought that we were going to find out that he hadn't stabbed Luffy. He had stabbed the container somehow. And we saw dripping in silhouette that looked like blood, but it was going to turn out to actually just have been water. And while I was like, I don't even see how that could have happened, I was like, well, I guess. All right, fine. And then he throws Luffy down into the quicksand pit. And we see the hole through the front and back of Luffy's shirt. Luffy is grabbing his chest and in intense pain. All of this is totally unexpected. I just never thought that Luffy was actually going to have been fully impaled. I don't know if the explanation is just going to be Luffy's one tough son of a bitch, and it'll take more than that to kill him. If that's the explanation, all right, that's fine. It's not like that interesting an explanation, but it's fine. But I am interested in seeing if there is another element to it. Is there something about his like rubber body that allows this to be like, does it make his organs bendy so that they like bounce out of the way? That'd be hilarious. Just overall curious about, because let's be real, any human being impaled on a giant hook through the chest, that's going to kill you. I mean, it was like through his heart area, right? Jessica says it would be boring if you only had good things to say, in my opinion. Gabriela says, yeah, criticize it all, Natasha. And Florian says, yeah, you're good. Okay. Thank you guys. I don't like to shit all over things that people love. I don't want to be that person. And I've had to be that person a few times, and it hasn't felt good, you know, but I also that's the point of what I do. I want to be real. And I also feel like I'm on camera, and I feel like you could see it on my face. I feel like there's no way to not let it sort of be obvious in a way, whether it's body language or something. I can't lie about stuff like that. It's just, I'm not good at it. Lying is one of those things that really like takes some energy, and I don't want to put my energy into that. So he gets thrown into this pit and left there. And Crocodile literally just walks away saying that was a huge waste of my time as Luffy gets sucked down. And he gets sucked down, and like there is a long sequence of Crocodile walking away. And I'm just like, how in the fuck does he get out of this? There is nobody like anywhere around him to get to him in time. And even if they did get to him, how do you crawl down and pull him out and not just get stuck yourself? That wouldn't work. And then we have, I can make as many limbs as I want, girl. And she is the one who manages to pull him out, which is pretty genius, actually. I thought that like method made a lot of sense, and it worked for me. He gets stuck up to his neck, and he is still like struggling to get out. I'm assuming also dealing with like a sucking chest wound under the sand, and really starting to like panic. There's a thing that the animators do where they take his pupils away from his eyes entirely, and they just have it be like the whites of his eyes. And there is something really unnerving about that, but it does get across extreme pain and like basically almost being unconscious, you know? And we see a moment where his head is like out from the sand and he's moving around, and it's almost, I think, meant to be that he like moves it so much that it winds up causing a sort of, what do you call it? Avalanche, I guess, and it covers him up. And this is when the cowgirl turns up and makes a bunch of hands from the sand, I'm assuming, which truly is so OP. Her abilities, I don't like hers. I think out of everybody's so far, her and Mr. 2 are the ones that I find like really disturbing. Mr. 2 being able to imitate anybody, that's just a scary thing. You know, somebody being able to pretend to be your friend and look and sound and be wearing the clothing and everything, then that just fosters paranoia. Don't like that. It is a cool as fuck power. Don't get me wrong. I have often said that if I were going to like pick one of the X-Men, I would pick Mystique to be, because then you could change up your look every single day, and it would be kind of neat to just like walk through life as an entirely different person and see how it goes, you know? But Ms. All Sunday, thank you, Florian. Ms. All Sunday's ability, it's incredibly useful, but it is creepy. It is so creepy. It's not even that she like makes things turn into hands, which somehow feels like it's less upsetting to me. Her hands come out of whatever object or person. Specifically her hands, which is just, it's just worse, right? I'm not making that up. Like, that is objectively so much worse. And it feels like she does this from afar with Luffy. She is far away, and she manages to have this happen. I'm really glad that she appears to be sort of ambiguous in terms of whose side she's on, because I feel like whatever side she's on is going to be the winning side. And it's like, for just the small reason of, you can go, it doesn't seem like she has a limit to what she's able to turn to this ability, right? Mr. 2, he has to actually touch a person and then he can turn into them. it doesn't seem like she has to have touched anything that she does this with. I may be wrong about that. But like, she wasn't down in the sand running her hands through it, and she still managed to make all of her hands appear out of the sand. So, yeah, that is just, she could, come up behind a king and strangle him by using his own throne to turn into her arms. Like, there's anything is available to her, and it wouldn't leave any sort of trace. There's no way to prove if you don't know that she has this ability, and she seems to kind of keep it on the DL, which you would, wouldn't you? Ryan says, imagine how easily you could kill someone if you could make body parts appear anywhere. We're on the exact same page. Exactly, Ryan. That's what I mean. It's just, you could completely fuck somebody up with practically no effort. And like I said, I'm just glad it seems like she's not fully evil, because that power in the wrong person's hands, I mean, they could have just ruled the world by now, I feel like. That's it to me. She could have killed Crocodile for sure. Crocodile, I'm certain he's aware of what her ability is, but does he fully appreciate how dangerous she is? I feel like he must, because he treats her more as a peer than he treats anybody else. So I feel like he has to have some real understanding of the threat she poses. But truly, in when you like break it down, I feel like she is much more scary than him. The only thing about him that I find genuinely like more frightening than everybody else, who has all kinds of other incredibly huge combat style powers, is how focused he seems to be. Because if you have a bad guy who's running things and he's like scattered or not fully committed or just kind of driven by ego, but this dude, it's still not entirely clear to me what he's driven by. He just kind of wants to take over and ruin everything. I still don't really know why. And yet he is like single-mindedly committed and really believes it, whatever it is he's trying to do. And I don't like that. That's not a good... You don't want your enemy to be focused. I mean, that means if your enemy is focused, that you have to be focused. And I don't know about you guys, but I struggle with that. That isn't the kind of like trait that I want to have to call up at a moment's notice, because it isn't going to go well. So then we cut to our friends on the back of this crab. Y'all, I don't even know. I really don't. So first, we've got fucking Zorro. And he is doing like a weightlifting, but with the camel balanced on his sword. I honestly do. I really love the various ways that this show has him training. It is hilarious. And the camel, I sort of expected him to be like, what are you doing? And the camel is just kind of like, this is fine. Just very amusing. And Sanji takes exception to this and is just like, what are you doing, man? Can you fucking knock it off? And the two of them get into it a little bit until Nami basically smacks their heads together and is like, can you fucking not? We have way bigger fish to fry. We don't need the two of you acting like babies right now. This is not it. And first of all, again, thank you, Nami. And secondly, Usopp is like, all right, guys, look, I don't want to cause a panic here, but I am looking at this map, and there is absolutely no way that we are going to be able to make it to, what is it, Arubaya? I've heard this name like 30,000 times by now, and I'm still not remembering it. There's a river in the way. After the river, there's thousands of miles of desert. It's just there's no way. And so, I can't even believe this. Not in the way that I want, but once again, Nami saves the day. Guys, what they have to do, Alubara, I was so fucking close. Thank you, Florian. What they have to do is basically give this crab a boner. And if they do that, he'll go faster. I don't like it either. I don't really even understand it. Like, why would seeing a hot woman make you run faster? Is it just supposed to be that she's bribing him? If you keep running, you can keep looking at my tits? If that, like, I guess that kind of works, but it is truly, whatever, it's fine, it's fine. So she, like, is wearing her dancer's outfit again. And then we just see the crab with his eye stalks facing her and watching her, while his front-facing eyes on the bottom have hearts in them. And he begins to go really, really fucking fast. And they seem to be under the impression that the crab is just going to be able to, like, cross the river and they'll be able to keep riding on its back. And I was kind of glad that's not how it worked, because, like, a crab, I don't know if you guys have ever seen a crab swimming underwater, but they have to be underwater. They don't, like, skim the surface. They're not like a turtle or something. And that is a wild thing, first of all. Seeing a crab swimming underwater, it just doesn't look like it should be able to. It just truly, like, it doesn't look like that should work. It's one of those things, like a bumblebee, you know, where they're just like, how does this thing fly? What? And it wouldn't have made a lot of sense if he just managed to stay. It wouldn't have, like, bothered me, but I was kind of glad they just had him essentially start to get into the water and they all float to the top and are stuck. And it's really funny because Usopp had been in the middle of being like, I love this crab. And as soon as they wind up off of his back, he's like, fuck this. Ugh. Excuse me, guys. I had a yawn attack. Please do not take that as me being bored. I'm not. And I'm also not tired. I don't know why that happens. So they're in the water. And then, like clockwork, this fucking being, this creature that looks like a catfish emerges from the water. And this is another moment of Vivi being like, oh yeah, this is one of these things. And she says something like, they're rarely seen by humans. And did I mention that they like to eat human flesh? Oh my God. So they get chased by this giant fish for 2 seconds. And then all of a sudden it stops and it's like having this weird reaction. I'm like, what's going on? And then we see all of these dugongs. They are fucking cheering and they're doing the, like, fist bump. It is so unexpected and delightful. I love these little guys. What a weird thing. They're so happy. And they're pleased to help Luffy's pupils. They keep calling them that. They're, like, assuming that Luffy is their master somehow. And they manage to essentially bully this giant fish into carrying them across the river. And I was fine with it. You guys, I've said before how I have a lot of mixed feelings about, like, the animals getting beaten up and being made to do things. But this fish sucked. This fish was a dickhead. So it's fine. So this is when they're like, I don't know if we can make it. Like, maybe we can get Vivi on Eyelash's back. And, like, because he can only carry 2 people. But how do we get her headed in that direction just by herself on this one camel and they don't see her coming and attack? What do we do? And they're standing there trying to think of something. And all of a sudden this this dust cloud begins to rise from the ground. And they turn and look. And it is Kuru and basically his like entire family, I guess. And I don't remember if we were told this specifically. He is part of the Supersonic Duck Squadron. Did we know Kuru was like a supersonic duck? Because I don't remember that. I didn't even think about the fact that there were more ducks at all like him. And y'all, these ducks are a sight to see. We've got odd sort of cowboy duck. I say sort of because he almost has more of a look of like an American tourist who's wearing like a cowboy-ish hat, but he's also got like weird wraparound sunglasses and a scarf. And there's just a whole energy to him of like, I have things with me. I'm prepared. And next to that one is like a lady version in a lot of ways of the same American tourist. It's a big, weird, like floppy white hat to keep the sun off, little round sunglasses, and what looks almost like a beaded necklace with like a little jug of water on it. And just like kind of cute, but similarly practical. You know what I'm saying? Then we've got Kuru. Then on the right of him is the badass one, which you can tell because he's got like a mohawk and a really angry expression on his face. Then to the right is one that is wearing what looks like a little like necktie, like it's like a diamond shaped like wide necktie. And one of those like, I don't know what you call these hats. It's like the wide, flat, peaked hat that was used like in rice paddies and things like that. And I know that they have a name and I cannot remember what it is. Forgive me. And he looks like his little saddle or whatever is made of fur. Everybody else looks like they have a regular saddle and they've got like bags that are part of the saddle that have supplies. And this guy doesn't have that. It's just a big piece of fur. He's much more like rustic, I think is the word I want to go for. Then we've got the two big guys in the back. On the left, we've got a dude who sort of looks like a Vanilla Ice. I want to say he's got like a backward baseball cap, which like feels like it should look a little bit tough, but actually comes across as pretty dorky. Might be made worse by the necklace that he is wearing and the sort of dopey expression. And then we've got the big kahuna who has the smallest eyes out of everybody, which were actually the way it's animated was a little bit confusing because I thought that the big stripes were its eyes but closed. And I think that those are meant to be like the markings on his feathers. And he is wearing one of those Viking style, like a horn coming out of each side hats and goggles. And he is he's like almost twice the size of all the guys in the front and like, you know, several feet taller than the guy in the back. And, Florian is saying they all have names. Are they mentioned in the anime? I don't remember that coming up. Like it might be mentioned later on in the episode, but it's certainly not said here, and I don't recall. Or it might be like in the dub they don't say them, but yeah, she says, let's see. Oh yeah, she just is cheering for Kuru, and then we cut. So I'm not sure yet. All right, so this is when Luffy gets saved by Miss All Sunday. And she looks up and sees Pell walking over and does not seem surprised that he is alive. I thought that she was going to be like, I couldn't believe that you made it out of there. But instead she says, awake already. And I was like, oh, I thought you'd be like, damn, foiled again. But no, it feels like she's playing this other big game that nobody is aware of at all. So she essentially, when Pell turns up, even though this man is not in great shape either, she's like, all right, well, this works out. You go ahead and save him, and I'm going to take off. It's like the SpongeBob, I'm a head out meme a little bit, you know? And she walks to her ride, which, guys, her ride is, I believe it's one of those banana gators. I could be wrong, and it might just be some other, like, lizard creature. No, it's a banana gator. He's got a banana on his nose. And he has been outfitted with a covered saddle to save her skin from the harsh sunlight that has, like, a little windshield to it. I swear to God. Oh, man. I just wasn't expecting that. I don't know what I thought she was going to do, but having a ride waiting, that was not part of what I was expecting. So, yeah, she walks away. And Pell, who is, like, clearly intending to come at her, she's like, I mean, he's the one who saved your precious Vivi. So, I mean, you could come after me and get revenge. Or you could help the guy that Vivi owes so much to and maybe go and do something about the situation that she is in. It's up to you. And then she climbs onto the banana gator and books it. This thing can move. Truly, I was surprised. So he's like, kind of, all right, well, I guess I'll deal with Luffy. Luffy reaches out, grabs his sleeve, and then just yells, meat. And, like, I had thought at the start of the episode, I didn't have subtitles on or anything, but at the start of the episode, when you hear him yelling, I 100% was like, is he yelling meat? Come on, Luffy. And then I forgot. And then we come back here and he yells it again. And I was just like, oh my God, honestly. And this dude is like, eating is the last thing that you need to think about right now. You've got serious injuries, my guy. And now I'm starting to think, is Luffy like, does he turn meat into like body meat? Is he transmuting animal flesh into human flesh? Is eating meat going to somehow like save him from his terrible impalement injury? I don't think that's at all the direction that the show is going in, but I could be wrong. I kind of hope I'm wrong, because then we've got a really good explanation as to why he's so obsessed with eating meat, why he was able to survive this particular type of attack that seems like nobody should be able to live through, and how he has been able to recover from so many other things as well. And that, I feel like, would be a pretty great, like, 3 birds with 1 stone explanation. So what I'm saying, I guess, is that if the show doesn't decide that that's what is going on with Luffy, and they're not going to officially comment that that's how it works for him, I am going to determine for myself that that is canon and just operate from that place from here on out. And every time Luffy gets injured, I am just going to be like, well, all we need is to get him some meat and he'll be fine. And I just like, that will be how it works in my mind forever. And the show can sort of like get on board with that or not. And that's their business. But I'm yelling for meat. I just, yeah, guy, really. So this is when we see all of the rebel army on the road. And, just you wait, Cobra. We're going to defend Alabasta. We're not about to turn it over to you. And we see them on a map heading to Alubarna. Then we go to Alubarna and we see everybody like getting fortified, lots of sandbags. And do you know what, guys? I just saw something. Hold on. I just saw something that may actually excuse Vivi, and I might have to eat all my words. hold on, guys, hold on. I'm going to play this for you. I'm going to share the screen. If you're not in the crowdcast, I apologize. Anytime that I do screen sharing stuff, I feel a little bit bad for the people who are only listening. But you could have been here, or you could not have. I'm not, So, all right, we got this moment, right? And then we see the steps into Alubarna. Now, I don't think that they are steps after all. I think I'm wrong about this. Look at this. It is almost like they raised the gate, or do you see this? It's like shaped like it could be stairs and lined like it, and it's at an angle. So it really, really looks like stairs, but it's too steep. And the way I think that we're being shown this to indicate that they've like somehow closed off the gate of the city. So, you know what, y'all? Maybe Vivi was slandered unfairly. No, she wasn't. Like, there, to a degree, no. But in that particular respect, I think that I was saying she should have done something that wasn't actually possible. Because it seemed super obvious to me, and the reason that she didn't do this incredibly obvious thing. But it's weird, because like then we see all of these people running downstairs a little bit later, guys. Hold on. Look at this. So, are they stairs? Because we've got Chaka, and he's like talking to one of the guards, and is like, something's up with the king. And see, then we see everybody running down the... So, are they steps? They are steps. Yeah. But, guys, I guess it is. I really thought I was wrong, and that I owed Vivi an apology. And I think I don't, actually. I think I was right. I was hopeful that I just kind of misunderstood, and that it was not fair of me to behave the way I did. But I think I was right. Florian says, want to know if they are stairs? They are stairs. You tried, reappreciate it. I do appreciate it, guys. Cause yeah, I thought like they looked so steep that I was like, maybe that's like but I remembered the stairs in another scene when they're like meant to be storming up them. So I was pretty confident, but then looking closer at the animation, I got all confused. And I think they may just look really steep because they're long. That's a long set of stairs. And to a point, anytime you've got something that is like that tall, it's just going to look kind of like weird. That's the scene I meant. Florian says, we see where the king is here too. You asked about him. Yeah. And there's the scene where the king is like telling people that they can come up the steps at one point. So I had that in my head. But yeah, the king has been taken by Miss Merry Christmas and Mr. Four. I can't tell you guys how much I fucking hate Miss Merry Christmas. Oh my God. I want to like... Owen's favorite thing every time I irritate him is he says, I'm going to drown you in a bird bath. I want to drown Miss Merry Christmas in a bird bath. She is the worst. She's so... It's such a combination of like her impatience, which is not actually productive in any way. And her actual voice is so annoying. The voice actor makes her a very yelly voice because she's like so impatient. And it's just awful to listen to. She is so constantly irritated with her partner. And like, I can understand that because of how completely opposites they are in terms of the way they, they move and how fast they are. But also, you've been working with this guy forever and you guys haven't figured out a coping mechanism for the fact that you're really fast and he's really slow. I feel like that's really on you. That's just not, you don't get to be this mad about it anymore. You could have figured something out and you haven't, and that's kind of your fault. So deal with it. And just, she's just so loud, There are people like this that I have met in life who are just constantly seems like they're yelling, and one of them I actually still kind of grew friendly with. And I went to their friend's house, or their family's house, and it was a really big family. And I began to realize they talked like that because everybody was constantly trying to get everyone else's attention. And there are so many people that it was like a genuine competition to get anyone to hear them. So they just naturally all sort of like overdid it with their volume when they were talking to anybody. And it was fascinating, but no less annoying. Like, it still was very irritating. But anyway, Miss Merry Christmas and Mr. Four have the king, and she is getting very, very frustrated at the fact that they completed their part of the mission, but now they just have to kind of stand here and guard this guy, and this really is so boring. And we see everybody on the backs of the ducks headed toward the city, and then we go into the next episode, and I've talked so much about the next episode that even though I hardly have any time left, I think it's fine. But what the guys on the ducks do is they all wear the same sort of like robe hood thing over their head so that when these Baroque works characters decide to try and attack Vivi, they can't figure out which one is even Vivi. And that's very smart. They do the thing where they lead folks on a wild goose chase, wild duck chase, I suppose it is here. A domesticated duck chase. It doesn't have the same ring to it. And I really love the fact that Usopp is paired with he's with Chopper, right? I'm pretty sure he's with Chopper. And they get beat up really quick. And they were supposed to like present a challenge and hold on to the guy chasing them for a little while, who is Mr. Two, but they can't. And like Zoro is sort of irritated with the fact that they don't manage to do it. And I'm like, Zoro, oh, he's with eyelashes. I love the fact that eyelashes was used as a decoy. Oh my God. How? It's fine. But yeah, so they are all leading their various people away out of, and as that is happening, Vivi is riding straight for Alubarna. Sorry. See, guys, I still keep doing it. And she does her whole thing trying to get attention. It doesn't work. Kuru gets really injured, and she is like sort of bending over him, being like panicked about what's going on. And all of a sudden, Usopp turns up on Eyelash's back. I don't know if Mr. Two is meant to have been able to imitate Eyelashes and Usopp at the same time. I'm assuming not, because that was just what was sort of funny to me. That when Florian just corrected me that Usopp is with Eyelashes, and then we see Usopp turn up on a camel, and it isn't Usopp. He just found a camel somewhere, I guess. So this moment where Usopp rolls up, I actually thought was done really well. The fact that she's bending over the bird and like just taking her time, worried about her friend. And Mr. Two says, forget about that bird. And she turns slowly around and is like, that bird? And thinks about all the moments that Usopp has had with Kuru and just is like, oh, this is not you. I loved that. I loved that so much. She just immediately, she does not fall for it. And then fucking Mr. Two is like, oh, are you worried I'm not me? I can prove it here. And he raises his arm. And this bitch has got a fucking bandage around his arm. what? I was horrified. And she reacts in a certain way that I wasn't expecting, and I'm still not entirely sure what to think about it. I think what is supposed to be happening here is that she is upset that she still believes that's Mr. 2. She isn't fooled into thinking, oh, it is Usopp after all. But their like secret signal has been found out, and that's what's really upsetting to her. However, I don't think their secret signal has been found out, because what we find out is that the plan was to mark an X on their arms, wrap that in a bandage, and then when you need to prove to one another that you're really who you say you are, unwrap the bandage and show the marking. That is way better. That makes a lot more sense and would be a lot harder to like figure out. And the thing that I found weird here is that we are shown that that's the way they decide to set it up. And I thought that would lead to her being like, all right, we'll take the bandage off then and show me the thing. And she doesn't say that. And I don't know if that's because the writer didn't want her to give away to an enemy that there's another element to the secret way of figuring out who your friends really are. But it was odd to me that we were specifically shown that there's like an additional step, and then that doesn't actually like become a factor in this scene at all. She just continues to not believe it's Usopp based purely on Mr. 2's behavior, which I actually like, I really do. But it was surprising that doesn't seem to be an issue. Oh, Florian says, yeah, show Vivi it is not Usopp because he didn't show the mark. He just shows the bandage. Since he doesn't do it, it's proof enough. Okay, I'm willing to go with that. Yeah, just the fact that he holds his arm up, but he doesn't do anything else. Okay. I would have been like, I'm in the midst of an emergency. I'm not taking my time to unwrap my thing. I would have been willing for the fake guy to like make an excuse like that, but he doesn't know, so there can't be an excuse like that. So, all right, that works for me. Thank you, Florian. So yeah, the element of Mr. 2 being able to imitate different people, I think, just injects a lot of tension into everything that I really like. And I just love the moments when he decides to reveal himself after having imitated somebody. What I find fun about Mr. 2 is that he can imitate other behavior to a point. He gives himself away, but he can be pretty convincing for a minute or two if you're not like well acquainted with the person, Okay. So then we see the actual battle beginning, because what happens is there's a Baroque Works guy in charge of one of the cannons, and the rebel army is heading towards the walls, and this guy accidentally lets a cannon go off, which starts the whole thing. Like, essentially, we fired first, and now shit has started, and there is no going back from here. And this is a very, like, the Boston Massacre. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but there has been a lot of, like, back and forth about who started it with the massacre. And it's always been, like, one of those things where I'm like, who started it? One side was equipped entirely with rifles. And then there was another side that had rocks. Who started it? We're not playing that game. But, there has been it has been alleged that somebody pretended to be from one side or another and did something so as to get things rolling, because politically there needed to be some kind of outrage to point to get people like frothy and fomented and ready to go. But, I'm probably just reading into this too much. So this is when we go back to Usopp talking to Zoro and being like, you were supposed to hold them off. you asshole. And I'm like, Zoro, you know who this guy is. You are the asshole for thinking that they were going to be able to pull this off. Give them a Sanji. Give them whatever. So the episode ends with the reveal that they know about the bandages. And that is the end of the episode. So, all right. Well, guys, I really did try to walk it back. All the mean, terrible things I said about Vivi. I tried. But there's like a million instances of seeing people running up those stairs. So it does. I was starting to be like, did I just imagine shit? Okay, good. But because, I mean, the battle has fully engaged now. Vivi is still just out on the sand. She's got an enemy by her who, it's unclear to me just how good he is combat-wise. We've seen him fight a few times, and he has seemed effective. So I feel like my money is on Mr. 2 for scooping Vivi up, because she has never seemed to be that good in combat to me. She does her best, and it's not like she's totally incompetent, but she's not great. And if she's up against somebody like him, I just don't think it's going to work for her. So I guess we'll see. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. Appreciate you all very, very much. Thank you, Gabriela, for commissioning this episode. And until next time, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.